Welcome back. This is By the Book, and we're your married relationship coaches. I'm Sent.
I'm Sil.
And today we're talking about Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 4. Going to talk to you guys a little bit about Cameron and Clare. Last week we talked about some other bad matchups. This week is no different. We're going to talk about Cameron and Clare. And I don't necessarily think that Clare is a bad person to be on the show, but I certainly don't think Cameron should be here. I'm so far not liking Cameron at all.
Wow. I mean, what could he have possibly done to downgrade your feelings for him so bad?
He got jokes. He knows what Cameron did. So, anyway, I mean, I'll start with the stuff that maybe is less offensive and just more an indicator to me that he shouldn't have been selected for the show. So as we start off this episode, we're seeing everybody, they've gotten married, they're kind of getting back to the hotel and seeing how they matched together, I guess, have an opportunity to talk about why they were matched, what they like, what their similarities are, what their differences are, etc. And it's very awkward between the two of them.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like the vibe is off. So when they get to the portion of getting undressed and kind of like preparing themselves for bed, we see that awkward exchange in the bathroom where, I don't know. He's trying to tell her to finish, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm good." I don't know. She hops in the bed. He gets his routine taken care of. He comes back to the bed in a robe, which I mean, I guess I don't know what that was about, but maybe he's a light packer, so maybe he forgot pajamas.
Yeah, I don't know about all of that. I don't know what it was, but it was a bit strange. But to me, him coming to the bed with the robe on, all bundled up, to me it was just like a physical way of him saying, I'm emotionally cut off from you, or whatever.
Did you read him to be like bundled up like that?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
I felt like he was putting up his guard, so to speak. So if he had read her like he did in his confessional, saying, hey, I'm a good judge at reading sexual energy, and she's not giving me any, I believe his guard went up and he put on his physical
Why would that make a man put their guard up, so to speak? Maybe like, I would think someone that you just met that is not necessarily giving you googly eyes for sex or whatever wouldn't be something that would necessarily trigger a guard going up.
It could be a guard. Let's just say, okay, he didn't get the vibe from her, and so he may have felt the vibe himself for her, and he didn't want to get turned on. So maybe it could be a way for him just to, hey, she's not feeling it, and I don't want to, overstep my bounds, with her. So I'm physically closed off, and we can sleep because ain't nothing else going on. I don't want to confuse this thing. She hasn't given me the okay.
That gives him a little bit more credit than I think I would give him. I just think he's weird and awkward. So, and I don't, I'm not even saying that to tease a joke. I'm saying like that is an awkward situation. I think we can all agree it's not, your typical marriage wedding night situation. So, it is going to make you awkward. Some people awkward anyway. And I think he was no exception. He was pretty awkward. She was a little bit awkward, but she just seems like a more normal person than him to me.
Yeah.
But in what you just said, him reading, the sexual energy, it seemed like the fact that he wasn't getting any from her kind of just set the tone. It like threw him off in terms of his own energy and his willingness to interact with her. I don't know if that's because he's just not a communicator, period, or if he just doesn't know how to communicate if there's no sexual chemistry. I don't know. But he definitely mentioned that once they were in bed, like, he kind of wanted to shut the conversation down, I
It's
guess.
time to go to sleep.
And yeah, I mean, he didn't say as much, but that's how it came off.
Yeah.
And that was another awkward moment where I'm like, okay. And she even read it. She's like, so are you telling me to be quiet?
And that's what he was doing.
But he laughed. He didn't say yes. He didn't really say no. But because he didn't say no, it kind of just shut the door to the conversation.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, that would have infuriated me.
Mm.
Here you are going in this months-long process, probably, to be selected and placed onto the show.
Yeah.
They pick a partner for you. You're super excited, I would assume, to, just see what this chapter of life brings. You meet the person, you get married, y'all get back to the hotel room, and we can't even talk.
Yeah, he said, shut up and go to sleep.
Yeah, as soon as you stop talking, I'm asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was cringeworthy.
It was.
I was like, okay. And he didn't do anything to, like, buffer that. He didn't do anything to say, I'm just teasing. Let's talk for a little bit, or let's cuddle, or anything that kind of opened him up to her a little bit. I can't imagine sleeping in the same bed with someone and not wanting to have a conversation about who they were or what they were like. I personally, I'm a talker, so I would have been up all night. You would have had to pry your eyelids open with some toothpicks. Because I just would have wanted to know things.
Yeah.
Right away.
You don't get any argument from me on that, and I think he missed an opportunity there.
He did. If he's really interested in this process being successful, definitely. He blew that.
He blew it. He blew it tremendously. I have no defense for him on that, especially since going into the situation, a person should know that, this, in order for this thing to move along, we got to talk. We have to communicate. And we got to break down some of the barriers that possibly could be between us, some differences between us. We have to explain ourselves with certain things. And I understand the whole wedding day and the reception day, it could have been a lot. It could have been a long, tedious day. I remember our wedding. We had a long day. But you don't know this woman, and you're laying down next to her. So why not have some conversation to let her know who you are, and you can get a chance to know who she is. Yeah,
unless he was so off-put by her that it's just like already shut down. Mm-hmm. He said she was attractive, right?
He did say that.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was confused by that, but I'll move on from that. Number 2, the thing I don't like about Cameron.
Wait a minute, you got a list going?
It's formulating in my head as we speak.
Ooh, I should have came a little bit more prepared. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't have any notes. He just doesn't have, like, the common sense of a boyfriend/husband type thing, right? So they get to the airport, and we're seeing, like, the after effects of that. God bless you.
Thank you.
And he's leaving her in the airport. I get it. He's tall. She's small. So his strides are bigger than her strides.
Yeah.
But, I mean, listen, he dated before. I'm pretty sure that he dated people who were shorter than him. He seems pretty tall. You don't necessarily walk the same pace as someone who's a lot short. I mean, look, I probably walk faster than you, but I know how to walk with you. And no, I'm not taller than him at all. Like, I'm almost a foot short.
Oh, but she walks very fast.
I walk fast. Yeah. But if we're together in the airport, why would I leave you? Why would I be yards ahead of you in the airport? Like, that's just silly. Uh-huh. It's like you don't want to be seen with me. Like, I don't know. I didn't get that. Yeah. And I think it struck her odd and probably offended her a little bit. But as if that weren't enough. Number 3.
Wait a minute, can I deal with number 2 before you go with number 3? All right, yeah, I agree with you. That was he definitely should not have left her, having her look for him and him walking off very fast. Again, you just met this woman. Why are you leaving her?
And it's supposed to be your wife.
But you know what? On the wife deal, I know it takes some people a little bit longer to
I get
adjust.
that. I'm quick to say that. I get it.
They've been single all this time, and now bam, one day now you have a mate, you have a spouse, you have a husband, you have a wife, and so now you have to adjust to that. You're no longer living single. Now you have to start to put on the married hat and begin to think and act differently. So I can kind of understand
Me
that.
too,
Uh-huh.
but not with that. Right? I mean, because that's just common courtesy.
Yes.
Like if you went to the airport with a friend, or it doesn't have to be a spouse, anybody, you wouldn't leave your dog. If you had a support animal walk, I mean, you wouldn't leave someone you came with.
Yes.
These are just the rules of life.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But you know what? Here's the thing. He said, I believe, and I think his friends were saying too, that he's never really had a real relationship. So
really,
it doesn't. I don't recall.
Please tell us if that's true. I didn't hear that. I thought that Emily was the only one out here raw dog in relationship.
Raw dog.
Just going out there not doing anything.
She said that.
I thought that she was the only one. If it's Cameron too, let us know.
Yeah, I think he said what a few months or something. He really doesn't.
Oh,
long
He said, yes, you're right. He's been in relationships. He said it's a year on, a year off, a year on, a year off.
Yeah.
So that's not the same thing. I mean, you spend a year with somebody, you should know how to treat somebody that you're with. At least the basics. The basics of not leaving me when we're in the airport together.
You know what? Chivalry, they say it's dead. It's dead because no one is teaching our young men how to be chivalrous or to be a gentleman towards a young lady. And obviously, someone has missed some training sessions with Cameron.
Yeah. I'm curious about his parents. I know they didn't participate in the process because they're overseas or whatever the case may be. But, it just begs the question, like, who raised you? What's wrong with you? So can I get on to number three? Number three, also from the airport, was the whole bag situation, where she addressed him when they got to, I guess, the honeymoon location. And it's like, you didn't even help me with my bags. And his knee-jerk reaction, he thought a perfectly reasonable response to that was for him to say to her, you didn't help me with my bags. And I'm like, okay, are you 3? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know how you necessarily vet or screen for somebody who has that type of personality, but it had to ooze out somewhere in this months-long process of them, vetting these people. That he didn't have like basic understanding of how to like interact with other people and women in dating situations. Like, that's not what you say. That's not the chord you want to strike. And then what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do in that situation? Do you want to make the situation more contentious? Or could you possibly, even if it didn't occur to you, it was something you overlooked, you wish that hadn't have happened, you're embarrassed by it, so you're going to be defensive. Is that going to help you get anywhere? Why don't you just say, I'm sorry. I should have helped you with your bags. That won't happen again. You already missed the mark because she's already looking at you crazy. Like, this man don't even know to help me with my bags. So to add insult to injury, you go say, you didn't help me with my bags.
Yeah.
That would have shut me down for the rest of the whole process.
Yeah, I know that definitely.
8 weeks was a wash.
That would have got her go. And you know what?
And he wouldn't have had to help me with nothing else ever again. We would have been on them excursions and I would have been doing my own thing. Yeah. I don't care if it was a 2-person rowboat. I would have been rowing both sides. You better get on somewhere. Don't play with me. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to let you respond to number 3.
Oh, number 3. Yeah, the whole bag situation it's embarrassing. And it's ridiculous. I mean, for a grown man to see a woman struggle like that and not be able, it's supposed to be your wife now, and not lend a helping hand. You know what? I've heard some young men say that they do struggle with trying to help young ladies nowadays because they don't know when and where to help, because they feel that if they were to try to lend a helping hand, try to be a strong guy for them or whatever, and pick up something, carry something or whatever, that takes away from a woman's independence. I never really had to deal with that, so it could be a more of a new age thing. I don't know, but to me, no. This is your woman. This is your wife now. You take the bigger bag and allow her to take the smaller bag. And going back to your number 2, don't leave her.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, here's my thing. I mean, I consider myself to be an independent woman. I'm a pretty independent, whatever, strong woman, blah, blah, blah. I am that. And I pride that. I pride myself in that. I don't want to be needy or like a damsel in distress or anything like that.
You are the least needy woman I've ever met in my life. But go ahead.
But I would want him to carry my heavy bags. And if I thought I wanted to bear this burden on my own, I would not be offended if you were to say, hey, baby, you want me to carry that for you? If I wanted to carry myself, I would just be like, oh, no, I got it. This is me. We have real life examples of that type of thing happening.
Yeah.
And it's okay. If he would have just offered, if he would have been like, oh, you want me to carry that for you? If it was an independence issue, she could simply say no. And then end the story.
Yeah.
So if he was confused about that, what should I do? Is it too much? Is it too little? Just offer and then let her decline. But under no circumstances do you say you aren't going to help me with my bags. I mean, okay, ma'am. What else would you like me to do?
Yeah.
You can't be the woman in this situation. I'm sorry. I'm not going to help you with your bags unless I see you struggling.
Yeah. I saw boy throughout that whole
absolutely.
ordeal. I didn't see man. I saw boy. But
yeah.
You got a number 4?
Oh yeah. We got to talk about the bus incident.
Okay.
Don't act like that didn't happen. So we all watched the couples on the bus together, and I feel like this was out of sequential order somehow because the bus ride was on the way to the honeymoon, right? I don't know. Whatever, but we'll talk about this last. And, of course, that is the offensive phrase that he used that, would have directly offended.
Orion.
Correct. And you and I talked about this a little bit after watching it. It's one of those things. Unfortunately, we grew up in a time where America has transitioned in our lifetimes, and in, many of yours, from being a lot less sensitive to racial diversity, religious diversity, sexual preference diversity, all of those things, to being what it is now, which is very sensitive and aware of those things. So what we were raised saying, and being passable as okay things to say, are now not that. So can Cameron slip up? Of course, he may have been raised for an amount of time in a different country that may not be that sensitive. I get it. You can slip up. Obviously, when he said it, he recognized that it was the wrong thing to say because he immediately apologized, right? Yeah. But immediately after that, he was kind of joking about it. And I think that's what made the situation uncomfortable for everybody. I feel like Lauren did her best to de-escalate the situation. And now I'm not knowing if Orion felt like that was inappropriate for her to do either.
He probably did.
You think so?
We're going to actually find out next week. But
yeah, I mean, in the previews, I couldn't tell if he was upset with her or if he was just relaying how upset he was with Cameron about that incident. But I could see someone definitely taking some level of offense to someone trying to lessen something that was offensive to them and make excuses for the other party. I just didn't like the tone that it struck afterwards. You have to remember when you're speaking from a position of privilege that when you offend somebody, you do owe them an authentic apology without making light of it or a joke.
Yeah.
So that was my big problem with Cameron in that situation. Not necessarily that he said it,
Yeah.
just that he didn't handle it with kindness, I guess.
Here's my take, and we can go on and on about this one, but I'm gonna try to make it as brief as I possibly can. This guy is from New Zealand, and so for him, what is a Native American? I mean, is it some other indigenous people group or something that's over in New Zealand? I don't know.
You mean what's the comparison?
Yes.
Okay.
And so when we talk about Native Americans here in America, we know what we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and the injustuces.
Exactly. But for him, he's a bit removed. He grew up in a whole different country. So for him, then he hears this, reservation term, and he's using it probably unwittingly, and unknowingly of the background of it. And so he says it, and it's out of turn, it's not received well, and it's offensive, especially to Orion. And so I think that was a really good moment, or a very good teachable moment, I believe, that Orion could have, utilized to show him and to tell him the reasons why this is offensive, not, really showing his emotions about it, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, do you feel like Orion handled it poorly? Because I felt like all he said, once Lauren said her piece, was, it's okay, I can hear ignorance. Now, ignorance was a word that seemed to, strike a chord with everybody on the bus, or whatever the case may be. And then again, Lauren went ahead to buffer that situation too, and try to clarify, like, ignorance is not a bad word. He was just saying he's not informed.
Exactly. And that's what it means. But we know that words have a different meaning among different people at different times. And right about now, when we call someone ignorant, it is a derogatory.
It sounds offensive.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, I mean, but what he said was ignorant. It was.
Yeah, it was.
There's not a much better way to describe that.
Yeah.
Whether he takes offense or not, it was the actual correct terminology to use in that situation.
It was. I totally agree with you on that. But again, I just think that was a really good moment for them to kind of like talk about it. But obviously, Orion got in his feelings about it. I'm not saying it's a right thing for him to feel a certain way about it or not. But I just think that if he wouldn't have gotten into his feelings, I think it was a good opportunity for them to kind of talk it out.
But he didn't do anything. Like, I didn't see him do anything that made me feel like, ooh, he didn't stand up and flip nothing over. He just said his comment about it was ignorant. And I didn't hear him say much else about it. It was kind of like a little everybody uncomfortable laughing, looking around, trying to search for the next thing to do to get beyond that point. And that's what happened. I think he was in his feelings in the previews that we see him talking with Lauren. But in that moment, I don't know. I can't say what he should have done. I don't know that if I heard something that was directly offensive, against Black people or women of color or something like that, I would necessarily have the perfect reaction to it. I don't know what I would do. It may take me a moment before I could process and then say, hey, look, this is why this is wrong. I don't think you were trying to offend me. Nonetheless, this isn't what you do. This isn't what you say. Now, if you say it again, then it may be a different type of problem because now you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's where I am with that. You guys let me know. Like, that is not the primary reason that I don't like Cameron. I just don't think he's gentlemanly, and I think he was a poor choice for the show because he's not prepared to jump into this situation with the ability to communicate well. And I think that's something that the experts probably could have pinpointed because he mentioned that about him. So he's not like he's not self-aware. Yeah. He's aware that he's not a communicator, and he's able to express that to Claire, and in his confessional. So we know that he knows he's not a good communicator. He wants to just jump in bed and express himself physically. And that's not what this is. It's not this type of process. He could have gotten on. Exactly. He could have gotten on some of those other shows that we've seen, Hot to Handle, or, like whatever, and done it that way. But this is a process that requires that you be able to communicate and really work toward having a workable relationship, a viable marriage, not just something physical.
I agree.
And he seems wholly unprepared for that. Even I think his family or friends, it is, not his family, they think so. Remember she asked him, is he romantic? And they're like, and she's like no. So they're gonna have some challenges, and then in turn him talking to her family, they're saying, you're gonna have to be able to communicate and this and that, and he's looking like, oh crap, wrong process, bad match.
Yes,
I feel bad for Claire. There's always one.
Yeah.
Every season there's one person, usually it's a woman, but not always, that I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry that they matched her up with this fool. Cameron is that woman. Claire is that woman, and Cameron is that fool. That's what it is. So anyway, guys, let us know your thoughts about Claire and Cameron. I think this is yet another bad matchup.
I agree.
Cameron shouldn't have been picked, in my opinion, and they are a no. I'm pretty sure. You can kind of read the tea leaves.
Right now, they're definitely a no. Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So, anyway, guys, as you can hear, the baby is getting ready to start talking to y'all along with us. So, we are going to close out with that. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.